Day 8 of my watertight challenge, and the focus of today's diary entry is the toilet, or more specifically the flushing of the toilet and the water that it uses. The average flush volume for a toilet in the UK is apparently between 9 and 11 litres. That obviously includes some quite traditional old toilets. The more modern toilets tend to have a much lower flush volume, and indeed in this house our toilets have a flush volume, and I've measured, of about 6.5 to 7 litres of water per flush. Keeping a record of our daily activities, it looks as though we flush the toilet between 15 and maybe even as high as 25 times a day if we're here in the house all day, the two of us. So actually that has the potential to add up to a huge proportion of our daily water use in the house. So it could be as much as 100 to 175 litres of water per day between the two of us. So there are effectively two ways to reduce the amount of water that you use when flushing the toilet. The first is to reduce the number of flushes that you actually do. And the other is to reduce in some way the volume of water that's used for each flush. So starting with the first one, there is a common expression which I think came from America, which is the saying, "If it's yellow, let it mellow," which essentially is a way of trying to get people to not flush the toilet every time they use it. That is something that we are going to try. However, a lot of people think that is unhygienic, not flushing the toilet every time, and so we're going to try and see if there are ways that we can overcome that perception. So one of the things that I've got is, there are different brands of these available, but these are toilet cistern blocks. These go in the cistern. This one's a bleach based one, this one turns the water blue, and effectively by using those I'm hoping that we can encourage the behaviour of not flushing every time. So the other way of reducing the amount of water used when flushing the toilet is to reduce the flush volume. Now a lot of modern toilets will have what's called a dual flush, i.e. they have two buttons on the top. One is the full flush and one is a partial flush. Now our toilets are new and they have two buttons, but actually I've looked and irrespective of which button you press, it does the full flush, so that's not ideal. However, if you have a dual flush toilet, or you can get one, then that is really a good way of saving a significant amount of water. It might be as much as half the volume of water that's saved each time. So on our toilets, 7 litre flush might go down to more like 3 or 4 litre flush volume. So that's one thing that we can try and do. But obviously, if you can't get a new toilet installed, then there are other ways of doing it. So in the olden days, what we do is people would say just put a brick in the cistern. Now that's not encouraged these days, because actually bricks can break down when they're immersed in water for a long period of time, and it can damage the toilet, or indeed stain the toilet itself. So now there are other ways of doing it. So I've actually got some options here. One is this one. This is a toilet tank bank, which I think holds about 1.5 to 2 litres of water. It's like a hot water bottle. Or you fill it up with water and it hooks over the inside of the cistern. It basically sits inside the cistern, occupies a certain volume of space, and reduces the amount of water that the toilet cistern fills up with. And so when you flush, obviously less water is then used because of that. So that's one way. That was a couple of pounds online. The other one is the more famous one, which is the hippo bag. So this is just a very simple plastic bag which sits in the cistern. It says it saves 1 to 2 litres of water per flush, and that just sits in the cistern full of water and occupies the space. I mean, other people use plastic bottles filled with water and just put into the cistern, weighed down, whatever. And so there's all sorts of ways of doing it. That was a couple of quid for a plastic bag. Okay, fine. That. We'll see how that goes. The other thing I found, which was a bit more innovative, a bit more out there, was following the brick theme, which I got one of these, this is a rubber brick. Now for those of you who remember diving for these in the swimming pool when you were a kid, that's what this is. I bought it on eBay. it's probably about 2.5 litres in volume, and my plan is to put that into one of the cisterns. So in the traditional sense of putting a brick in the cistern, but hopefully this one is inert enough that it won't cause any problems. So that's the final solution. So we're going to try each of those, the blue blocks to try and reduce the number of flushes, letting the yellow mellow, and then 2 different types of water bags that go in the cistern, and my handy rubber brick that I bought on eBay. And I will report back to you on what that achieves. But I'm hoping that if these various devices save, if the reduced flushing means that we flush the toilet 10 times less a day, that could be 70 litres, maybe plus, saved each day. And if this saves 1.5–2 litres, then it could be 30 to 50 litres saved per day on toilet flushing as well through these. So that's what we're going to try, and I will report back in a later diary entry to let you know how it goes.